Let me bring up my other screen. So let's start with the SAP AI Core Gen AI Hub. This is a variant, so maybe I'll start from a step back. So when you choose AI adapter, you would get an option of choosing two different message protocol. The first one is the AI Core, which is SAP's own generative AI hub, and the second one is the OpenAI. If you go back to the SAP Gen AI Core hub, you have the address. So this is the address that you need to provide of a Gen AI hub. So for different region, SAP has provided different data centers, and the API endpoint URL is what you need to configure here. Together with the OAuth2 credential, this is the credential that you would get as part of your AI core activation. So when you do that, you need to also create a service account and a service instance. And as part of that, you would get a service key, which will contain your client ID and client secret. Using that, you can create a credential in your security artifact and provide the alias here. We have other standard connection related parameters such as connection reuse, the timeout, and the response timeout. Coming to processing. So the current operation that we do support is the completion orchestration API, which is primarily meant for prompts. When you create an AI core, you also get by default a resource group which has its own deployment ID. So you can use the default deployment ID, but also you can create different other resource group within your Gen AI hub, and then you will accordingly get a deployment ID that you need to provide here. The adapter comes with two different type of configurations. So you can use the UI configurable, which is an intuitive way of interacting with AI where you have already all the models and the different roles that you can use already predefined. So you can choose a particular model which is relevant for your use case, and then you can interact with that particular model using the UI configurable value. But if you have more complex scenarios to integrate, then you can do it with exchange body, wherein you have to provide the exact request structure, and that way you would be able to do complex operation using the exchange body option. But in most cases, we believe that the UI configurable option should be good enough for you to interact with the different models present with the AI core. And as I highlighted, this is an editable field, so you can also provide your own models which are not part of this list, because this is a very field which is changing very quickly. So you're getting models almost every other day. So of course, if there's some model that is not part of the list, you can also provide those model in the list by tapping the respective model. This is about AI core. Then we have the other variant, which is the OpenAI. Here you provide the OpenAI address. It's defaulted to the standard one. If you have some custom domain name, they can also provide that address as well, together with the API key alias that would be generated from your OpenAI. And then it also has standard connection parameter in order to control your connections to your OpenAI. On the processing side, it comes with a configuration type of basic and advanced. Basic is again an intuitive way of interacting with OpenAI, wherein you get everything on the UI itself. So you can choose a particular category. Currently, it supports 3 different categories. So we are supporting chat completion, platforms, and response. Chat completion and response are primarily for the same reason, but response is a more advanced way of interacting with OpenAI. So most of the people would use response in this case. Then, of course, you can create a model response where you provide your prompt. And again, you can choose different AI models that are available. And this is again an editable field, which you can, of course, provide any other model as well. This also comes with a UI configurable. So you can also choose exchange body. So you can provide the whole model request, the prompts and everything in the input payload. And if you choose the advanced option, this is for other scenarios which are not defined in the basic option. So you can, of course, using the advanced option, using the right HTTP method, call different specific endpoints of your AI application. So this was very quick about how you can use, but maybe let me also show you the platform here. I think this is also very interesting, because with this platform events, you have different other entities that you can choose from. For example, if I choose audio, you can generate audio. A good use case could be that, let's say you have Tulio, for example, as an application in an organization, and you want to make calls with specific audios. The AI would be able to help you out with generation of audio. You can transcribe things with the audio and then send out, let's say, email notifications or messages. So there are a lot of possibility that it enables. You have different other entities that you can deal with. For example, images. In this case, you can create an image and a lot of things that you do with image. We have options of integrating with models. So you can actually list all the models that you have, which you can also then use in order to integrate here. So for example, you retrieve all the models, and in the next call, let's say that is there after this one where you want to get a response, you can then also provide the model name as part of the expression using a property, for example. So of course, the options and the ideas are, and yeah, you can do a lot of things with these options available in the adapter. Let's look at a very quick demo. So let me go a step back here. I have this another iFlow. For for the scenario we have, let's say we have been getting sales order data from our S/4HANA application, for example, or Salesforce, for example. We get this data, we have certain operations that we are doing. In this case, right now, I'm just using a very basic JSON to XML converter. I'm making third-party calls, getting the response back. This is our basic iFlow. In case there's any exception, generally people would like to, let's say, use Jira adapter to create a ticket, or maybe use mail adapter to send out email notifications. So you have certain exception handling sub process mostly in all the iFlows. In this case, what we did was we extracted the error information. We are talking to our OpenAI in this case, asking about a proper resolution of our exception that is happening. With that, we will get back the response, which will contain the resolutions and other details. I can collate both these information and then create a ticket. So now the ticket that would be created in Jira would not only have the error details, but also would have the resolution. So the person who is going to act upon it would have already ideas of what is going wrong, and they can take immediate actions to resolve the issues that are happening. Let me activate a trace for this one very quickly so that I can show you the payloads and everything else around it. Let me deploy this one. In this case, I've already in my sales order data that I've hard coded for now, I have used an invalid JSON structure, and this JSON to XML converter would fail because of the invalid data that is coming from the upstream application. So now I've triggered this thing. Essentially, it will have an invalid payload, which will try to be converted into an XML, which would fail. The exception subprocess would be triggered, which will then talk to AI to get the right resolution and would collate all this information and then essentially would create a Jira ticket with this data. Let us go to the message monitoring. The interface has run, and let me go to the trace view. So we see that the data was coming in as expected. This was supposed to fail on the JSON to XML conversion. The error message that I see is a malformed JSON, and it says that the line is terminated early. So there's a problem with the item paths here. We extracted the error message in this case, so we're just extracting it from the camel expression. And then in the using the AI adapter, we are calling an LLM to get more details. And if I go to this step, maybe where we are logging the payload, and if you go to the message property, we have the resolution that we are getting back from the AI. And it's already telling me that the problem is with the JSON formatting and the JSON structure is not properly closed, which was the exact problem of this issue. But if somebody looks at this error message, for them, it might take time to understand what is going wrong. And of course, the resolution would also be delayed. But with this, you already know, and it is already giving you exact details where to check the thing. Now what I'm doing here is I'm creating a request using Jira adapter. So I'm calling this thing. So it will create an issue within my Jira project with the summary, and this description already contain about the exception details and the resolution that is generated by the AI. So this way, when the ticket would be created in Jira, so as a response, I would have the ticket number as well here. There's an issue already created, and this issue would already have all the necessary details that the agent can look into and then act upon it to fix the issue for your scenarios. So this was a very basic example, but of course, as I highlighted earlier as well, you can create different other use cases using the AI with the possibilities that the adapter provides.